There's so many great guitar players nowadays, young ones. They do stuff I even don't know what they're doing. So I just play from my heart, from my stomach, and from my balls, and hope for the best.
There you go. I think we have the quote of the day. Tommy, it is an honor to talk to you. It's great to talk to you. The new album is coming soon as we're speaking, October 17. How are you feeling? Because this is not, any other band releasing another album. This is quite a milestone and a return for a band that has been labeled iconic for many decades. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great, thanks. I mean, when I was finished with the record, I felt like, oh, now I'm going to have some time for me again and stuff like that. But no. No, it never stopped, but it's great. Everybody is super motivated. Fan responses are great, and yay!
Yeah. I mean, when the first single came out, and you start seeing a lot of positive reactions to that single, there must have been an moment for you, because when a band that is, people throw around the terms iconic and legendary and what have you, maybe too often in the world of music PR, but there's an undeniable legacy and influence that Coroner has had on extreme metal, and when a band puts out a new album for the first time in such a long time, I'm sure that even when you're working on this and even when you're excited and feel inspired, there must be a voice in the back of your mind that goes, this can go very wrong as well.
Yeah, it was quite a relief, to be honest. I couldn't sleep the whole night the day before it came out. But I was like thinking, oh, is it the right single? Is it the right song?
Right.
Because when the record company told me there have to be 2 singles coming up front, I was like, oh no, I don't want that, because people will think the whole album will sound like that.
Right.
Because to me, the whole album is a piece, not one song. So, but reactions are great, and I'm relieved, and yeah.
I'll throw a little extra fuel on that fire. I'm gonna polish your ego here, and the watchers of the audience of this show know that I don't do that a lot. But this album is really strong. I literally
thank you so much.
A couple of my friends a message earlier today that for me this is now one of the albums to beat for album of the year. Like, it is a really strong album, and I hear what you say, that the album flows and there's a lot of different elements that come to piece, so it must be hard for you to pick 1 or 2 songs that should be a representative for the whole album.
Yeah, right.
That must be hard. Also because, in today's world, it's like, well, now the singles are what people then expect to hear live, and I'm sure that is tough for you to decide. Maybe let's just go into that. Like, when for you an album is one piece of work, when you're thinking about live shows, because I think we're going to see a lot of announcements for Coroner coming up. I think you're going to be very, very busy.
Hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, let's be real here. The people are going to come to your show. There's a healthy list of classics that people are going to want to hear, but you're going to want to play some of these songs. So, what should we? Usually, I talk about live shows at the end of an interview, but let's go straight there. What should we expect from a Coroner show in 2026?
Yeah, we want to step up a little bit, like with a nice stage and everything, if it's possible. And that's the dark side of being a musician.
Right.
Like a painter, he has his phases of doing this style, and then he's doing this, and like Keith Richards, he has to play fucking Satisfaction all the time since how many years, So
Yeah.
that's okay. Life is a different thing anyway. So I think we will play like 2, 3, maybe 4. It depends on the set length. But we Reborn Through Hate, we have, and Mask Shackle, we have to play. That's
Yeah. That I know a lot of people were like, oh yeah, well the single Renewal, obviously they're using that song because of the title and it's the band is back and that's a renewal. But for me, when I was listening to it, I had a chance obviously to listen to the full album.
Yeah.
The album opens with Oxymoron, which is a more an extended intro than a song.
Right.
But for me, that encapsulates this whole idea of renewal and coming back much more, because the way I listen to this song, it almost feels like slowly but steadily out of the deep, out of the depths, an old evil comes back to the surface, if you will. Is that the right way to interpret that?
That's exactly what we intended to do. And you're right, Renewal, we didn't choose that song because of the title. Actually, the title, we talked about that a lot, because Kreator had an album back in the days called Renewal. But like that, the alternative would have been What Remains, which I thought was a bit boring. So it's just a word, even if Kreator used it a long time ago. And no, for me, I did choose that song because it's maybe something in the middle from all the songs. That's what I wanted to achieve.
Okay. Now that you mentioned Kreator, I mean, I think that there's quite a few extreme metal bands that might not have become what they became, or didn't find the sound that they eventually found if it wasn't for Coroner influencing them. An example of that, in my perspective, would be Meshuggah, for example. A Kreator also at times, for sure. I mean, they've gone through a lot of different stages in their life.
Right.
It's clear the influence on extreme metal that Coroner's had is clear. But have these bands re-influenced you when you're now writing? And I'll for example, because you mentioned Kreator, there's 2 songs, and I think they're back to back. Sacrificial Lamb and Crisium are they're in the middle of the album. And I think Sacrificial Lamb so far is my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
When I listen to that, it's almost like, wow, it's like modern Kreator and Meshuggah have this really interesting weird baby, if you will. I feel like there's does the modern metal scene influence you at all?
I think so. I mean, I don't listen to too much music nowadays because I can listen music during the day. So in the evening, I enjoy the silence, preferably. And of course, everything you hear is an influence. It can be like the modern metal bands I hear in the studio when customers show me what's the newest thing, and but it also can be a movie soundtrack, or even a nice view when I go for a hike or something. So, and of course, everything is an influence. But I didn't sit down and listen to other bands. We never did that. Even in the past, we never talked about, hey, we could play a little bit more like Metallica, then maybe we're gonna sell more. We always wrote the stuff for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you say that, okay, you didn't necessarily sit down to listen to another band and like kind of understand like, hey, is that something we could do? But you also say like, there's a lot of things that influence me. It could be a walk,
Yeah,
could be a movie. Is there
yeah.
is there a particular song or even just a part of a song on this album that for you is like, well, for me that really was a direct influence from this particular thing? Forget about music bands, but like, but an experience you had that we might not realize.
Maybe like I read some comments, the intro riff for Renewal, that it sounds a bit like an old Metallica song, and yeah, it's kind of true. There is an element in it, but it's this half. Of course, I listened to that album 1,000 times back in
Of
the
course.
day, so maybe that was stuck somewhere, you know. But when I write it, I didn't have Metallica in mind. So,
Yeah. Okay.
and
Now,
even Meshuggah, maybe, you know, I like to listen to Meshuggah when I'm in the gym. That it helps
I mean, if there's
to
ever a
move the
place to play
weights.
some Meshuggah, it's probably the
Yeah,
gym.
yeah.
You mentioned like, oh, I read that in the comments, and I know that every artist reads comments about their own stuff, even though most artists say I don't ever read comments.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of course.
when you do read those comments, I'm sure that you've also noticed that there's quite a few people with this new single that discovered you with that single, and
Yeah.
your audience is not just, you know, the old dudes like myself that are at least 40 years old, that when they were growing up had at least some level of Coroner in their life. There's a whole new audience that is finding their way to that. Is that something that you were conscious of when creating this album, that it's that you shouldn't create an album? It's, to rephrase the question, like when you're working on the album, was it like a conscious effort that like, hey, we want to make sure we don't quote unquote just make songs for the old fans?
No, we experienced this a little bit when we played live. You know, like on the
Mm-hmm.
last US tour, there was a really young guy. He was wearing a tour shirt from '89. I was like, "Hey, is this your father's?" No, my uncle's. And so that's so awesome. Or a father came with his son. He brought his
Yeah,
son,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they're both fans now. And but when I wrote, I never had something like this in mind. You know, I
Okay.
just I thought a lot about this album should sound like, even from the writing standpoint. I mean, a lot of people prefer Grin. Some people hate Grin. They like more the first three albums, but that does doesn't make any sense. I can't write No More Color again. I'm a total different person nowadays.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
not possible. So I forget it, and I just started writing, and that what came out.
Is that the same approach when? Because one thing that this album does really well for me is that Coroner will always be labeled as a technical thrash or maybe even technical death metal band at sometimes. But people are going to use the word tech or prog in describing your sound. And when bands are described like that, sometimes albums become like, here's let us show you all the crazy technical stuff we can do,
Yeah.
and you kind of get like the song is kind of like an afterthought, or there's less memorable hooks really or
Hmm.
melodies. So when you're working on that, what's your approach to making sure that, sure, you want to display technicality and a corner song is maybe a little bit more difficult than Smoke on the Water, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't take over the song, if you know what I mean?
I totally agree. I mean, like the first two albums we did, they were a bit like to show off how much we practiced. And nowadays, like the feel and the emotion is way more difficult, way more important for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, to me, it's boring to play technical for the sake of being technical. That's you can do that when you're young, but nowadays that's. But I'm still happy we can do it when I feel like, oh, now a fast part will fit. I can do it. But not for show off. I'm not interested in that because there's so many great guitar players nowadays. Young ones, they do stuff I even don't know what they're doing. So I just play from my heart, from my stomach, and from my balls, and hope for the best.
There you go. I think we have the quote of the day.
Okay.
Coroner plays metal from their balls. You mentioned like, okay, you know, not the youngest anymore, and there's young kids now that are doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Forget about the actual playing, but to wrap us up, you know, you've been playing shows, and like you mentioned, like we had the US tour not too long ago. How, like, you've matured as a person. You don't try to show off anymore as much as maybe on the very first albums.
Just
but
a
from
little
like
bit.
just a little bit, but from like a preparation perspective, because you know being in a band now for you is a different experience than when you're a teenager.
Yeah, totally.
What are some of the biggest differences you had to implement in this stage of your career?
Yeah, the problem is when I work here all day, I don't play guitar when I have customers. Maybe to show like a guitar player a chord or something. But after a long production, it's hard to get to relearn like all the skills and stuff. So when we have a show, I at least need like 3 days off before to get into guitar playing again. And I try to keep up, you know, like noodling in front of the TV at home, but that's not the same, you know, like
Right.
that's not learning songs or practicing like.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, I hope that so many shows will be announced for Coroner that you will be non-stop practicing to get
That
back
would be
into
great,
shape for
yeah.
every show, because this material deserves to be heard live. I'm curious to find out how you're going to bring some of these songs to the stage. That'll be cool to see as well. I have a feeling we're going to see you guys play a lot, and a lot of announcements will come our way. I think you'll be busy for quite some time supporting this record.
I hope so.
Again, I think this is an absolutely phenomenal album, and I just like you, when I heard that Coroner was going to have a new album, I did have a voice in the back of my mind like, oh, I hope they pull it off. And I'm really, really excited that you guys did pull it off. So I can't wait to see you on a stage, catch up with you in person. You should come to Toronto, play many shows here. We always want to have you here in Canada.
Sure.
We're easier to come to than the US anyway with visas these days. So just come here, and we'll all be at the show. In the meantime, enjoy this new release, this return, this true return of Coroner, and I hope that in between all the rehearsing and the interviews, you also get a chance to just enjoy this moment. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.